So welcome to Lucky Hair Brewing Company up in Watkins Glen. I'm with our head brewer, Tony. He's going to take us for a tour of the place and talk about some of the different brews they have going on, and we got a unique one today. So follow us inside and let's take a little tour.
All right.
Okay, Tom, let's see where do we want to start?
All right, so this is our new production facility. We built this this year. Or actually, I guess last year. Today is 2020 now. So in 2019, we built this. We brewed our first batch in here in October of 2019. And we got a 15-barrel brew house, 4 fermenters, and 2 bright tanks. Nice keg washer, nice big cold room. We brought over our 3-barrel system from our old space, and we're gonna go take a look at that right now. So why don't we go over?
Awesome, let's check this out.
We're washing and filling kegs today, so there's a lot of that going on over here. These are our 2 bright tanks. That holds a package, or it holds clear beer that's ready to be drank.
Okay.
But the real magic happens right over here. So this is the brewing. This is the brew house. We have a 4-vessel brew house. Well, 3-vessel if you don't count the hot water tank. We have a mash tun. We have a mash lauter tun, and we have a brew kettle. Is where we make 15 barrels of beer at a time. Right now we're brewing about once a week, but during the busy season, hopefully we can bump that up to about 5 to 6 times a week.
Now, these are pretty large containers.
Yep.
How much beer is being done over here?
15 barrels of beer. A barrel of beer is 31 gallons, therefore we make 465 gallons of beer at a time.
Per week?
Yes, right now, yeah, which we can go up to 4 or 5 times that. So.
Awesome. Cool.
And then once we brew on the brew house, we transfer it to one of our fermenters. We have 4 fermenters here. These 2 are 15-barrel fermenters, and these 2 are 30-barrel fermenters. The 30-barrel fermenters, obviously, you can brew twice into one fermenter, so that makes 930 gallons of beer.
Oh, very nice.
Where these are 465 gallons of beer. Right now we have Falcon Punch in this tank, and actually we have another Falcon Punch in this tank. And then we're going to be making lager next week, and we make Falcon Punch basically every week because it's our best seller.
Right.
So
Falcon Punch is like the staple for
Yep, it's our classic kind of West Coast style IPA. It's our best seller, and it's really kind of what helped build this place.
Now, West Coast IPA versus like a New England IPA and East Coast, what's the difference?
Yeah, so like a New England IPA is going to put a lot more hops in the dry hop. It's going to have a bigger body. It's going to have less bitterness, maybe some more sweetness, where a West Coast IPA is generally going to be a little drier. It still has that aromatic punch, but it's going to be a little bit more balanced in the flavor and the aroma. And a little bit drier as well.
Okay. So on the hops, for the West Coast, it's completely different hops, correct?
Not necessarily. You can use any hop that you want. So we use a lot of ingredients from New York State. Actually, almost all the hops that we use in all of our IPAs are New York State grown. Usually just from Seneca Castle, which is about an hour from here.
Oh wow! So that's really close.
Yeah,
that's
it's super
really
close. Yeah, and we have a relationship with a farmer, and we try to utilize their hops as much as possible. So
that's great. All right, so what's next?
All right, so fermentation happens. We already brewed the beer. We transferred the beer into the tanks. That's where we add yeast, and the yeast eats all the sugars that we created in the brewing process. That creates alcohol. So all these, as you can see actually right here, we have fermenting beer actively fermenting right now. The yeast, when it eats the sugar, it creates alcohol and CO2. That's CO2 coming out of solution during active fermentation. So that's a very, very good sign. We see that, that means that the yeast is doing its job.
Awesome. So how long does it take typically?
It depends on the beer, but in this situation, this is Falcon Punch. It's an ale. Ales are generally fairly quick. We also use a yeast that is very resilient and can work really, really hard. So we'll be done with fermentation in probably less than 6 days. And then we dry hop the beer, which takes about 2 days, and then we cold condition it for a couple days, and then we transfer it to a bright tank. So the entire process of fermentation happens, the fermentation and conditioning happens within 2 weeks. Sure. Some lagers will take longer. So our lager is about 31 days. and you know, some bigger beers like Imperial IPAs or barley wines or stouts and stuff like that, that could take a little bit longer as well. But this beer, generally, very quick. All right, so once the fermentation is done, we transfer this beer. It's finished beer, it's cold, and it's relatively clean, but it's not as clean as we want it. So we transfer it from one of these tanks over to a bright tank. This is where only bright, clean beer goes. This is where we carbonate the beer. This is the tank that we directly package off of. So as you can see some of the hoses down here, we have beer coming out, going into our keg washer where we're actively kegging beer. Actually, you can see it right here if you want to come over. This is our rye pale ale right here.
Yeah, just like that.
So this is coming out of this tank into our keg washer and into a keg right here, right now. So that's active, good, clean beer, carbonated, ready to drink.
Tell me about the rye pale ale.
So this is a fun one that we made. It's just a kind of a classic West Coast pale ale. It's actually kind of modeled off of Sierra Nevada a little bit. When I design a beer, I tend to be a little more balanced when it comes to using like adjuncts such as rye or some really aggressive malts like rye, or pretty much any spice or any kind of thing that I add to a beer. So in this case, it's like really well balanced, like nice, easy drinking pale ale that has that really nice rye finish in the back. So yeah.
So you've been doing this for quite a long time.
Yes, I've been doing this for almost 10 years.
10 years. So in 10 years,
yeah.
How many different types of creations have you come up with?
I couldn't even count.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
tell us a little bit, like, so how did you get started into this?
I mean, I was in the right place at the right time. I was looking to move careers, and I moved to a new place, and I emailed all the breweries in the area, and I was like, hey, I'm just interested in getting involved. And one brewery said, hey, yeah, come on by. So they put me on the packaging line. I started stacking boxes and everything, and you know, one thing led to another, and I started filtering their beer. I started brewing. I started cellaring, and then kind of moved my way up. So
how did you learn about the brewing process? You said self-taught.
So mentors, friends, just getting my hands dirty. You know, obviously a lot of reading, a lot of seminars and stuff like that, and symposiums, and going to all those things, and just like general interest in the craft. You know, it's not that hard if you know where to find the resources, and you have people around you that can support you as well. So yeah.
And I say that the resourcing and the mentoring is awesome.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though,
yeah,
you still got to know a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh,
because,
yeah.
You know, it's all taste.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep. And you have to know, like, okay, why are you adding these ingredients? Like, what do these things go together? It's just like cooking. You know, like I have a lot of times I refer to cookbooks when I'm creating new recipes that are a little bit more wacky or use ingredients that I'm not used to, because there's a lot of knowledge out there when it comes to cooking, and you can use that. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's cool.
All right, so what's the craziest flavor you've ever tried, come up with?
Well, I mean, today we're making a beet saison, which is pretty fun and cool. We roasted 80 pounds of beets, and we're going to put it in this beer, which is one of my favorite beers that we've ever made. But you know, like I've used like oysters in beer. I've used I don't know, like smoked chipotle sours and stuff like that. Like I've done a lot of weird stuff. I made a cask that had Jolly Ranchers in it. That was kind of fun. Yeah. Actually, I made a beer once that had trace mineral, which is like this stuff that is like a Gatorade and stuff like that. It's like electrolytes, I think.
So that really made like a great healthy alternative.
Yeah, exactly. It was a low alcohol. It was actually made for runners. So like after like you run a marathon, you could drink one of these and feel a little bit more rejuvenated. So today we're working on our pilot system, which is a 3-barrel system. You know, 3 barrels, 31 gallons per barrel, so 93 gallons. We're making a beet saison. So saison is a traditional Belgian style that we really like making. I love making Belgians. They're one of my favorites to work on, and they're one of my favorites to drink. And I love working with beets. Beets are actually one of my favorite foods out there. And when I started working here, one of the things I really wanted to make was a beet beer, and so we decided to make a beet saison. So right now we have our mash going. We actually just finished running the liquid from the mash into the kettle, and we're about to boil. And then after we boil, we're going to run all of the liquid, all the wort that's in there, or soon-to-be beer, through all of our beets. So the beets that we have here are actually, it's only about half the beets that we're going to use. So hopefully we'll get a nice like bright red color out of it and a little bit of that earthy sweetness that comes from the beets. So,
Okay, so this style beer, this Belgian Saison,
yeah.
what type of things should we notice when we're enjoying one of these?
Yeah, so a Saison or a Belgian yeast in general is going to be more unique than any other ale yeast that you normally use. It's going to ferment at a hotter temperature. It's going to have a lot more interesting characteristics like and phenolics and esters like clove and banana and spice and stuff like that goes on with it. So when you smell it, you can smell all these different almost like baking spices that come through, and it's just from the yeast. It's just the way that the yeast performs, and it usually dries the beer out really, really well. And you have a very unique style that's like fruity and interesting that is only from malt and yeast. So it's cool. Generally low on the hops, although like the nice thing about Belgians is that they kind of say, hey, just do whatever you want, just like throw it out there. They don't really have style guidelines for themselves. They just say, just do whatever feels right, which is one of the great things about Belgian beer. It's very open to new things. So craft beer to me is all about education and helping people get the kind of expand their palate and get out of what's normal. There's a time and place for all those things as well, but like if I have somebody coming into my place, I want to challenge their palate, but I also want to offer them something that they know and can rely on as well. And when I go out and I drink beer, like I want those things, so why wouldn't I try to facilitate that within our place? So yeah, as far as something that, it's funny because like you talk to people who are like, I only drink Labatt Blue, and then you're like, well, have you ever had a sour? And they're like, no. Like, well, forget everything you know about beer and drink the sour. And then half the time they go, oh wow, this is like really weird and interesting. If they go in expecting something that is not what it is, then they're not going to enjoy it. So it's about educating the customer and making sure that there are new and interesting things to drink out there. It's fun.
So if I'm walking the Lucky Hare,
yep.
All right, first time, never been there. What am I gonna experience? What's the experience you guys want the customers to take with them?
I don't know. I just want our personality to shine. I just want you to go in and be like, okay, I can drink anything here. It's all good. It all has a place in what you're thinking about beer. It's friendly. It's a fun place to hang out. There's everybody there is just there because they love our product. They love Falcon Punch. They love our lager. They love our staples, but they also love new things. So it's kind of a hard question to answer because I think it's unique for everybody, and that place is just like what we are. We're not trying to be pretentious about it. We're not trying to be anything that we aren't. And so it's really important for us to stick true to our identity. So, yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you some questions about your distribution, but first, you were able to pour me about the freshest beer you can possibly get right out of it. So this is the Falcon Punch.
Yep.
And so while I'm enjoying this, talk to me about you guys' distribution a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, so right now we're self-distributed. Everything that comes off this line goes right into one of our vans and is delivered by actually one of our owners. So we keep all of our accounts pretty close to home. We find that we want to keep everything fresh and consistent. So the best way to do that is to keep things as close as possible. So we have really good relationships with all of our accounts, and we want to make sure that they're all happy and that the people who are getting the beer have the freshest beer they possibly can. So it's really that simple, everything that we make is within the Finger Lakes region, or is sold within the Finger Lakes region. We have gone as far as Buffalo, and maybe with this facility we can go as far as say Albany and maybe even New York City. So, but that would be that's going to be a little bit a ways out. So we're gonna focus on our home base right now. And try to keep it as fresh and consistent, and keep our customer service up as high as possible.
Cool. Now you have 2 tasting rooms now,
yep.
Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we have one in Hector, which is where the original brewery was located, and then we have one in Ithaca, which is like a micro tasting room in Press Bay Alley. It's a really cool little spot, and it's a lot closer to a bigger city. So. But if you want the full experience, I would definitely go to Hector, and you can have all the beers that we offer. There's 10 taps there. It's a really cool little house that's got a great view of the lake, and it's just everybody's just super friendly there. Yeah, meet a lot of locals there. It's great.
All right, so now we're over here in Hector, New York with Ian at Lucky Hair Brewing Company. Ian's one of the owners. Ian was over, checked out the facility, talked with Tony, was pretty impressive.
Yep.
So
Tony was impressive, or the brewery?
Well, we don't want Tony to get too inflated head, so the brewery was impressive. Actually, his knowledge was super impressive.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Lucky Hair.
Well, we're coming up on our 4th year, and we started out as a farm brewery, pretty much starting with 4 taps of beer. We've expanded to 10, and we have a 2nd tap room now in Ithaca, and we're really just focused on making super fresh and delicious beer, and being on the wine trail, kind of, we're trying to hit all the palates that come through in this area because of the wineries and the distilleries and now all the breweries and the restaurants. So, we're just excited to make beer and trying to make good stuff all the time.
And that's a great point. You're on the winery trail up on Seneca Lake. Great view outside here.
Yeah.
We'll definitely shoot some footage for that so people can see
yeah.
where you're at. So tell me what we have sitting in front of me.
So this is our, traditional flight, and we serve them by 6-ounce glasses, and you will normally get 4 different beers if you're choosing. For right now, we have just the first 4 that we have on tap. So you have your Falcon Punch, our American Lager, Espresso Self, and then Fruit Salad. So a little bit of everything, really kind of just runs the gamut of the kind of beers that we make here at Lucky Hair.
That's awesome. That's 4 different styles. So I kind of went on this with Tony. I don't want to give away what he said, but so what would you say Lucky Hair's style is?
That's kind of hard to say. I don't know.
I'm
kind of interesting to hear what Tony would say, because we make so many different beers. There's not like one thing that we focus on. We don't focus on just New England IPAs. We don't focus on just barrel-aged beers or sours or anything like that. Because of our location, we make a little bit of everything. So I don't universal style. I don't know. What did he say?
That's exactly what Tony said.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that's great. So that's always important that you guys are on the same page, if nothing else. Right?
That would have been embarrassing if I was like, yeah, New England IPAs or something like that, and he was totally somewhere else. We make all beers with beets. I don't know.
Which I'm super hopped up to try. No doubt.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
All right, so let's try some of these flights. So what's the first one we're going to try?
I'm going to hand you Falcon Punch, which is our American IPA, and it's hopped with all New York State hops and Falconer's Flight, so it has a little bit of everything in there. Citrusy, grapefruity, a little bit of pine and some resin, but well balanced, 6.2%, and really the beer that we make nonstop here at Lucky Hair. So
cool. All right, so you can definitely see the color of it. Traditional IPA. It's not super clear. It's got a little haze to it, so to say. Of course, the hops smell like you just described.
Yep.
Really dead on.
Yep. We've made hundreds of batches of it, so I think by now it's kind of like, I know for Tony and for myself, it's you just do it in your sleep. You've done it so many times.
Right. So I was actually trying it fresh out of your guys'. Out of the
bright tank?
Out of the bright tank.
Yeah,
so
excellent.
What I love is, so from there to here, I can tell you this, that tastes identical.
Oh, that's great. That means our process is exactly how we want it, and that's just good to hear.
Yeah.
So, great.
So that's impressive. That without a doubt, that's impressive. So a couple hours, 2 different places, different taps, everything identical.
Different
taste.
beer, yeah, different batch. So, but. Yeah, that's great to hear. We also check that beer against all the cans that we have available too, Falcon Punch, and we do blind tastings to make sure that you're getting what we hope that you get, and everything's been tasting really great. So.
Okay, what's the next one?
Next one is lager. It's just called lager. We modeled this beer. It's an American lager, or light lager. Let's say lager again. It's 33% flake corn, and the rest is New York State malt. And we modeled this beer after Narragansett. We drank a lot of that. So we figured we'd make something that would be kind of a beer for the masses, or a universal beer that everybody can drink. So light, refreshing, and just an easy drinking lager. So
Now, will this have a lot of hoppiness to it?
not at all, no. We use New York State hops in it, but it's just to balance you know, the maltiness or the sweetness of the corn that would be in this beer. So it's just Willamette hops that we get from Peterson Farms up in Seneca Castle, and it's just to add balance, but no real bitterness or aroma or anything like that.
Right? So again, traditional lager look to it.
It's a good party beer. Like if you're looking to drink more than 5.
Right? So not a high alcohol content.
No,
compared to a typical craft.
Yep, yeah. We target 4.2%. So if this is, you know, if you're looking to have a couple of beers, and that's the one to do it. So. You know, we made it also because the folks that come through that really don't drink craft beer or know anything about craft beer or are not interested, but they do drink more of the macros, your Bud Lights and all that. This kind of would, I don't know, hopefully satisfy them, and they can have something to drink too while they're here. So.
And that's a great description. So when I take it's a clean, it's a crisp, traditional beer. Again, hoppiness, no.
Yep.
It's a nice lager. It is a nice balance on that. And you know, it's going to be, I would say, if I was getting into craft beer, this is probably where I would start.
It's a good starter. Yeah, it's a good. It's as far as like the craft beer starter kit would go with beers. That's start there and then work your way up.
So what's our next flavor that we're trying?
So we went from the lager, and now this one is called Espresso Self. It is an American stout, an imperial stout that we age on locally roasted coffee. This one happens to be from Seneca Sunrise down in Watkins Glen. So you're going to get lots of that wonderful coffee roastiness. You're going to have some chocolate to it, some dark fruit notes. It's just really, really nice. If you are a stout fan, you like coffee, it's a great beer in the morning. I mean, it came out really, really nice. So.
Cool. So nice, as you can't see through it. It's a nice dark complexion style beer. Nice little foam on it, little head on it. You definitely smell the coffee.
Yeah, you're not going to have any caffeine in there. One of the questions that we get a lot about coffee beers, and I'm sure other breweries get, is like how much caffeine is in this beer, and you're not going to get anything. If you drank the amount of beer that you would need to drink to get some sort of caffeine buzz, you'd probably be laid on the ground. So,
which I'm sure has happened.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely taste that chocolate when I try into this. I mean, so it's not, so if somebody's into stouts and they're looking for a real heavy coffee, this one has a little more of a chocolate flavor to it versus the coffee, which I like. I got to be honest with you. I mean, I really like that. That's a very enjoyable. I do taste a little bit of the fruit, but I can't tell you what the fruit part is.
So that's going to come from the yeast, actually. So okay. the strain of yeast that we use in there, and plus the temperature that it's fermented at, will produce some fruity esters, which will give you some of those notes. But predominantly, you're going to get the coffee because of the amount of coffee that we put in there. And then we use twice as much chocolate malt as we do roasted barley. So you're going to get way more chocolate than you would get the roastier notes of a stout. So there's really a lot of different malts in there.
Yeah, that's an excellent stout.
Thank you.
Okay, and what's our last one on this?
Again, totally different from the last beer that you had. This is fruit salad. So it's a kettle sour that we do. And so we use fresh pressed juices from local fruit that's done just down the road. Actually, the gentleman that does that for us also collects the grain, our spent grain, that he feeds to his cattle and his cows. So it's kind of like full circle. We get fruit from him, he presses all the juices, but also takes our spent grain to feed his cattle and his pigs. And so this is like, it's got black currants in there, elderberry, rhubarb, and cranberry. Obviously the cranberry is not local, but everything else that's in there is local. And it's delicious. Tart, little sour, very refreshing, perfect summertime beer, and the first sip is going to be the tartest, I guess, if that's a word. But then after that, the shock of a sour kind of mellows out, and then it's really nice to drink. So,
now personally, I like sour, so yeah. I'm excited to try this one.
Excellent.
Oh, love the smell. Love the smell.
It almost smells healthy.
That is a great sour beer.
Thanks.
This is a great sour beer. If someone was just getting into sours, this is really, really nice. It's not overpowering with the sourness. The fruit is just amazing, but that is excellent. Very light and crisp as well.
Yep.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's 4.2% alcohol, so you definitely can have a couple of them. We serve them in smaller glasses just because of the sourness, and maybe it's, after one or two, maybe might be too much, but it's just, a light, refreshing, easy drinking beer that if we could make it all the time, we would, but there's only so much fruit that we can get our hands on.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, for a sour beer, this is for someone who is I'd say hesitant, I guess, to try the sour beer world. This is definitely a must try. What again is the name of this one?
Fruit salad.
Just fruit salad. Don't be fooled by the name. It is a nice, very nice sour beer. So I gotta be honest. For IPAs, I really like that. I really like that Falcon Punch. But out of these,
You're going fruit salad?
that would be my choice. That would be my choice out of these. I was just very pleasantly surprised with that.
Oh, good.
So that, I'm happy. That makes me happy.
Oh,
I really like the sour beers. It's a very finicky world, as I'm sure you know.
Sure, yeah. Can't please everybody, but
But that's very nice, very light, very clean, very crisp, and again, the sourness is right on.
Yeah, Tony does a great job, and the way that we're doing kettle sours now is different from the way that we were doing them just here in the barn. So now that we have different equipment, we can actually sour the wort a different way that just adds a different level of tartness to it that just makes the beer better overall. So the combination of all the fresh fruit in our brewing process now is, I think, taking that beer to another level. So.
And I love the fact that you are doing just about as much as humanly possible as you can local with the local farmers.
Yeah, and that's I think that's really important, and a lot of breweries are doing the same thing, and restaurants, and I think it's just key to continue to support the community and the people around you, and that's what folks want. I mean, that's the way the breweries are going. People are supporting their local breweries, and we like to support and work with other businesses in the area, whether it's collaborating on beers or being able to get vegetables or fruit from farms because we're surrounded by them. Or making beer with obviously all the grapes that are being grown around here, which we do. So why go anywhere else when we have all of it around us and we know that it's fresh, organic, and it's going to taste great. So that's what we do.
And there's no question it tastes great.
Thanks.
Now, you have another tasting room. Where's your other tasting room at?
It's located in Press Bay Alley, the hidden area in Ithaca that nobody seems to know about yet. There's so much happening in there. It's on West Green Street. It's behind the State Theater, a block away from the Commons, if you're familiar with Ithaca. And we have a little micro tap room there. We have 4 beers on draft at all times. We carry some other breweries' beers. We have cans, so there's ice cream in the alleyway. You can get coffee. You can get hand pies. You can take juggling lessons at the circus school. You can go your hair done. You can buy some halal food. There's donuts. So there's really just a ton of things happening in Press Bay Alley and Press Bay Court in Ithaca. So.
Well, we're definitely going to go check that out. Obviously not today, but we are definitely want to go check out the Ithaca tasting room, and just maybe what we can do is have you guys meet up with you sometime and do a little tour down there.
Sure. Yeah. It would. It's definitely a unique spot, and I think we'd probably have to get some ice cream and some ham pies while we're drinking some beer and enjoying all this too, because it pairs really well.
Well, I mean, I don't miss too many meals.
Yeah.
So we're off for it.
I'm not saying you don't miss any. I'm just saying
Right. So Ian, I want to say thank you. This has been unbelievable. Like I said,
thanks. Man.
Again, this has been a real treat watching everything from behind the scenes to up here, the scenic view.
Yeah.
Atmosphere is amazing. This is everything I guess you would think of is on a wine trail.
Yeah.
Yet you don't have to just do wine.
No, not anymore. You can do a little bit of everything. Everything is available. I mean, we carry local wines here too. We carry, when St. Patrick's Day comes around, we do a collaboration with Finger Lakes Distilling, where we have a collaboration whiskey that we do with them. So, I mean, really, everybody has a little bit of everybody else's stuff available in their tap rooms, and that's what makes this area really unique. Is that there's lots of great things available, and we try to carry all the best stuff, and you get to drink in our living room. So
Absolutely. I'm excited. I definitely want to come back. Hope you have us back, and
anytime.
definitely check out the Ithaca location
Yeah.
with you guys at some point. But
Absolutely.
thanks for having us. I
Cool,
really
man.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
anytime.